Hello and welcome back for our history session. We are doing the lesson Devotional Paths to the Divine. Today we begin with session 3. Today we are going to focus on a few new religious movements that started in the northern part of our country. As we know that the period of the 13th century saw a new wave of bhakti movement even in northern India. This was an age when Islam, Brahminical Hinduism, Sufism, various strands of bhakti, the Nathpanthas, the Siddhas, the yogis, started influencing one another. It also emerged different professions. People started moving from place to place, maybe to worship different places, to listen to the preachings of the new religions that were coming up, and the ideas of different saints started spreading. So people such as Kabir, Guru Nanak Ji, all these different peoples also started preaching their own religion, their own thoughts to the people. Even these rejected all the orthodox religious beliefs or the religious rituals. But whereas we find people such as Tulsidas, Surdas, who accepted the existing beliefs and made them accessible to all. So, a great contribution of Saint Tulsidas is that he was an ardent follower or a worshipper of Lord Ram, and so he has composed the Ramcharitmanas in Avdi. So his important work of Ramcharitmanas translation into Avdi proves to be a important work as a religious book as well as a literary source for many. Around the 16th century, we even have a Bhakti saint from Bengal who is Chaitanya Deva. He preached selfless devotion to Krishna and Radha. So if you just go through your textbook on page number 113, you will find that a group of Chaitanya Deva's followers are engaged, are engrossed in the worship, devotion towards Krishna in the form of dance and songs. Now, moving to the next part, we will talk more about Surdas. So Surdas was an ardent devotee of Krishna. He worshipped Lord Krishna. He has expressed his devotion in compositions like Sur Sagar, Sur Sarsavali, and Sahitya Lahari. Then we have Shankar Deva, who was from Assam, a devotee of Vishnu, who composed different poems and plays in the local language of the people of Assam. So he composed the poems and plays in Assamese. He also started setting up certain namghars, or we can call it houses for recitation and prayers, which even continues till date in the regions of Assam. Then moving further, we have to talk about a very important devotee of Lord Krishna and who was Mirabai. So Mirabai, who was a Rajput princess, had married into a royal family of Mewar. Before she became a disciple of Ravidas, who was a saint from an untouchable caste. So here when we talk about Mirabai, Mirabai being a queen of Mewar now, but then her husband had allowed her earlier to worship Lord Krishna the way she wanted to. But later, when she lost her husband, the conditions at her place were not the same. She was not allowed to go out. People were not allowed to come inside to meet her for worshipping Krishna. And then later, when she left the palace, she became the disciple of Saint Ravidas. She was an ardent devotee of Krishna and has composed n number of bhajans which became popular among the people of Rajasthan and Gujarat. So here we also have a poem given in your textbook which says, Rana ji, I have left your norms of shame and false decorum of the princely life. I have left your town, and yet, Rana, why have you kept up enmity against me? Rana, you gave me a cup of poison. I drank it laughing. Rana, I will not be destroyed by you. And yet, Rana, why have you kept up enmity against me? So here, when she left the palace, she had certain questions in her mind towards her brother-in-law, King Rana of Mewar. So he was the person who tried to kill Meera in one or the other way. But it was her ardent devotion, her faith, her belief in Krishna, because of which she was alive even after having that poison. And I guess you also have certain important things in your Hindi lesson which you can relate over here. So let's move on. Like as we say, there are different features of the different saints. So here we can say a unique feature of most of our saint poets is that their works were composed into the regional languages and could be sung easily by the people of that particular area. They became immensely popular and were handed down orally from generation to generation. So as we know earlier, there was no written script as such. So all these bhajans, these poems, these songs, you can see the anecdotes, the fables, the different stories, all were passed on orally from generation to generation. Then usually we know the poorest, most deprived communities and women transmitted these songs, often adding their own experiences. So somewhere they wanted to show the society that yes, what are our experiences, what are our problems. So at times we see these kinds of things included into the poems, songs, or the stories. Thus, the songs as we have them today are as much a creation of the saints as of the generations of people who sang them. And now they've become a part of our living popular culture. Let's move on to the next one, which is Kabir. तो कबीर के दोहे तो आप सब हिंदी में पढ़ते हो. So now here talking more about Kabir is like he was brought up in a Muslim family of Julahas, which is the weavers family in the city of Banaras. He has wrote many verses and which were known as Sakhis and Pads. And they were sung by wandering bhajan singers. So most of the singers or the saint poets who were the wandering people, they used to sing these sakhis or pads. Many of his writings were later compiled in the Guru Granth Sahib, Panchvani and Bijak. His teachings rejected major religious traditions and the ridiculed external worship in Brahmanism and Islam, the special position of priestly class and the caste system. So here, even Kabir rejected the religious rituals, the show off of worshipping an idol or coming together to just show how ardent devotee we are to God. He also did not believe about the positions of the priests in the society because yes, they did not treat everyone in an equal state. He mostly has written down in Hindi, but also has used a cryptic language sometimes, which is like a language which is not easily understood by everyone, or there is a hidden meaning into those words. He also believed in formless supreme God and preached that only path to salvation was through bhakti or devotion. So he also focused a lot on the bhakti movement, or the way to salvation was bhakti. So instead of showing the way you actually worship God, it's your internal, your inner feeling. Your mind knows how devoted you are. So that is what he also preached people. So moving on to Baba Guru Nanak Ji. So Guru Nanak was born in Talwandi, but he traveled for years before he found the Dera Baba Nanak in Kartarpur, yes, which is situated on the banks of river Ravi. So here a regular worship was conducted, which consisted of singing his own hymns, and it was like a place where his followers would come together and sing those hymns, irrespective of their caste, creed, or gender. All his followers ate together in a kitchen, a common kitchen, we can say, which was known as langar. The sacred place or the temple he created for worship and meditation was known as Dharamsal, and now we call it as Gurudwara. So before he died in 1533, he appointed a follower called Lena, who later was known as Guru Angad, as his successor. Guru Angad compiled the works of Guru Nanak Ji and added to it his own scripts, which were known as Guru Mukhi. The next three gurus also wrote under Nanak Ji's name, and their works were compiled by Guru Arjan in 1604. Works of Sheikh Farid, Sant Kabir, Bhagat, Namdev, Guru Tegh Bahadur were also added to all of these compilations. So let's talk more about Khalsa Panth or about followers of Guru Nanak Ji. Finally, in the year 1706, Guru Gobind Singh authenticated the compilations and created the religious scripture which is known as Guru Granth Sahib. So all things, whatever were the teachings of Guru Nanak Ji, Guru Angad, Guru Arjan, everything was compiled in this particular religious scripture. The followers of Guru Nanak increased by the 16th century as people from all the castes and occupations joined the community. By the 17th century, the town of Ramdaspur, which we know as Amritsar, developed around a Gurudwara called Harmandir Sahib, known as the Golden Temple at present, and became a self-governing society. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir saw this community as a potential threat to the empire. So around in the year 1606, he ordered the execution of Guru Arjan. So after the execution of Guru Arjan, we also have a story where we hear about Aurangzeb executing Guru Tegh Bahadur as well, as Guru Tegh Bahadur refused and denied to accept Islam and get converted. So moving further, by the 17th century, Guru Gobind Singh, who took up the position and started organizing a special movement which was the Khalsa Panth or the Khalsa movement, and the organization was Khalsa Panth. It was like all the different people from the Sikh community came together, and this particular organization worked into the political formations and revolutions through the Khalsa Panth to protect all the Sikh leaders and the people from the Sikh community. Guru Nanak emphasized the worship of one God and insisted that caste, creed, and gender were irrelevant to attain salvation. So again, here we can see that Guru Nanak Ji also did not believe in caste, creed, and gender. He felt that all the people in the society are equal. According to him, pursuit of an active life would liberate humans. So yes, when a person is active, helping each other, that would give you the liberation. Also, he used the terms like Nam, Dan, and Isnan, which meant right worship, welfare, and purity of conduct. His ideas today are called Nam Japna, Kirt Karna and Vand Chakna, which means right belief and worship, honest living, and always helping others. So now that was all about the different saints, the saint poets of our country who actually preached the different methods to achieve salvation. Some of them told us to renunciate the worldly things, whereas some told us to stay within the family and stick to bhakti, right? But the teachings of each and every saint was the same, that is, stick to humanity. Treat each and every living being equal. Do not harm any one of them, right? So let's move on to some of the interesting facts. The famous bhajan of Krishna, Maya Mori Main Nahi Makhan Khayo, is an actual written work of Sant Surdas. The different poetries helps you to improve your vocabulary, right? Because there are so many hidden meanings in the different words used by these different poets. Sant Tulsidas wrote Hanuman Chalisa when he was imprisoned by Akbar. Shiva is also called as Natraj, the lord of the cosmic dance. These are the few date lines which you will have to remember. The 8th century, we have the evolution of Bhakti movements and the Sufi movements. From 7th to 9th centuries, we have emergence of new religious movements led by Nainars, Alvars. Between the 10th and the 12th centuries, we have the different kings from the southern part, like the Cholas, building elaborate temples around the shrines, which were visited by the Nainars and Alvars, which actually helped strengthen the links between the Bhakti tradition and the temple worship. 8th century, we have Shankara, who was one of the most influential philosopher of India, born in Kerala. He gave us the idea of Advaita. The 11th century, we have Ramanuj, who proposed the doctrine of Vishishta Advaita. In the mid of the 12th century, the Virashaiva movement initiated by Basavanna and his companions like Allama Prabhu and Akka Mahadevi in Karnataka. Then from the 13th to 17th century, the different saint poets inspired people with their songs in simple Marathi. So we here are talking about the saints of Maharashtra. From the 11th century onwards, many Sufi saints started settling in Hindustan. After the 13th century, a new wave of Bhakti movement started in the northern India. The 16th century, number of Guru Nanak followers increased under leadership of his successors. The beginning of the 17th century, we have the town of Ramdaspur developing around the central Gurudwara, which is Harmandir Sahib, which we know as Golden Temple. So this is all from my side for today. If you have any doubts, any queries, you can note it down and ask me during our classes. Go through the lesson thoroughly, mark the important things, what you feel. Try to solve the book back exercise. We will discuss it during our class as well. So till we meet for the next time, take care. Bye-bye.